he cried out all the more, "Son of David, have mercy upon me." Luke chapter 18, verse 39. The image of the blind man, the story of the blind man of Jericho, reflects the conditions of the poor and suffering human nature. This man mirrors how sin blinded the eyes of the soul of the human nature. The eyes of the body are extremely limited in their abilities in comparison to the abilities of the eyes of the soul. Thus, mankind, even with healthy eyes of the body, still suffer from great blindness when the eyes of the souls are not functioning as God has intended for them to function. Also, the obstacles the blind man of Jericho had to face before he was able to gain his healing. This scenario, what happened to him, exhibits how society greatly hinders the union of man with God. Let's reflect upon this scenario for a moment. The people knew that he was blind, and they knew that he was begging to support himself. And now he's raising his voice, reaching out to Jesus. And what did they do? They told him to be quiet. Maybe they thought he was going to ask for alms from Jesus. So, what's the big deal if he did? They were not even supportive or helpful for him to do that. They obstructed him from reaching out, calling for mercy. This is how helpful they were, the society. So people that surrounded Jesus or surrounded the blind man, as we can see, they showed no sympathy. They expressed no sympathy. They had no feeling of anything that is positive toward this man. This is a display how connecting with Jesus Christ is something that is not supported, not encouraged, not helped by the society. Seeing God is very much a possible goal. Prophet Moses, one of his titles is the seer of God. So seeing God is very much possible. There is very long list of people who saw God through the eyes of the soul. As I mentioned, Prophet Moses is one of them. However, reaching this goal requires considerable amount of effort. The blind man of Jericho teaches us that significant struggle against the odds in order to see God is required. But that struggle, if it's persistent and consistent, will lead to the health of the souls of the eyes and will make it possible to see God. So those who say that it's not possible to see God, either they are intentionally ignorant or involuntarily ignorant. Jesus praised the blind man of Jericho. He praised his strong will. He praised his persistence. He praised his struggle. Even though Jesus as God, he foresaw, he knew what was going to happen. He knew the desires of the heart of the blind man. He knew that once he found out that he was passing by, he was going to ask for the healing of his eyes. He knew that. Yet, he did nothing about it. He just waited. He wanted all the people to see the unwavering longing, the unwavering desire, the strong zeal of this blind man to regain his sight. Jesus wanted to use this as a teaching moment for all the people. By waiting, Jesus emphasized the importance of the determination to be healed. If someone wants to be healed, they have work to do, and that work starts with being determined. Today's miracle underlines the necessity of advocating for one's own health. Each one of us, each person, is the best advocate for our own health. The Holy Bible has a plethora, infinite examples. It shows beyond a doubt how the society does not encourage or help or make it easy for anyone to be healthy, whether physically, spiritually, emotionally, or faith-wise. Societies tend to perpetuate the blindness or the spiritual blindness and the poverty, the spiritual poverty of the people. This is a sad pattern, and it becomes obvious when we examine certain elements of the society. Think about habits, think about customs, traditions, philosophies, teachings, the way the societies do things. Think about that. You are going to realize that the spiritual health, the physical health, the mental health is not on the top priority of the societies. On the other hand, the attitude of the saints, the hero of the faith, they teach us something very important. They had the same attitude of the blind man of Jericho. They had determination. All the heroes of the faith understood that they had to fight a hard battle if they wanted to find the truth. They expected to face resistance and hostility if they attempted to regain their spiritual sight. Think about all the philanthropists that benefited out of their own cost, societies and people. How much opposition and persecutions they had to face. As a matter of fact, a lot of rules, a lot of laws that exist, they make it easier to be a dishonest person than being an honest person. Apostle Paul summarizes some of the struggles of the seekers of the truth. He says, some were tortured, others suffered mocking and flogging, even chains and imprisonment. They were stoned, they were sawn in two, they were killed with the sword. They went about in skins of sheep and goats, destitute, afflicted, mistreated, wandering about in deserts and mountains and in dens of caves in the earth. His epistle to Hebrews, chapter 11, verse 35 to 38. This hostility against spiritual health exists because of the invasion of sin. Sin invaded human nature. Before sin existed, mankind enjoyed life of delight. Adam and Eve enjoyed free, unrestricted access to seeing God and conversing with Him. This unlimited communication with God provided also for all the needs of all the faculties of mankind. The conversation with God, seeing God, is a nourishing and a nurturing experience. However, sin deprived mankind from this nourishment and from this free access. The divine grace that was enriching Adam and Eve is no longer flowing constantly into the human nature. It got interrupted. Man became mad. Man became blind. He became poor. He became a beggar. And that's the image of this blind man of Jericho. However, the seeds, the desire of longing to be with God, nurtured, nourished by God, be united with Him, and see Him, that seed still lives within the human nature. And this explains why the blind man of Jericho was so persistent to be connected with God. And the obstacles that were caused by people around him did not stop or deter this desire and this longing. The blind man of Jericho demonstrated that there is a hidden zeal inside mankind for God. Today's healing emphasizes that the soul longs and can regain its spiritual sight, its divine beauty, and can be connected again with God. Let us learn from the example of this man, the blind man, the beggar of Jericho, how he did not let anyone stop him from connecting with God. This is a great example. Blindness happens when sin attacks our nature. Our sight is regained when we expel sin out of our nature. Jesus revealed that the eyes of the soul can be restored, and He showed us how to do it. Each person must help the intelligence of the soul in order to regain their sight by avoiding all distractions and all traps. We must exert significant effort to escape being pulled downward and being separated from God. And this happens when the intelligence of the soul takes command and leads the person, as we saw with this blind man, in the direction toward God, saying and crying out, "Have mercy upon me." By seeking to have mercy, by seeking to have mercy from God, we start our journey toward a healthy eyesight of the eyes of the soul.